Otherwise, so this is the two-factor authentication. This is a safeguard that we use for BlueNotary for when you are doing the remote online notarizations, and just kind of how to introduce that into conversations that you are having while you are marketing. Admit all. I'm going to see if there's a way that I can just do this automatically. No. Okay. That's okay. Sorry. Okay. So two-factor authentication. My name is Katie. I did a little bit of a spooky theme because it's October. I'm the Notary Relations Director for BlueNotary, and I also own my own business as Notary Southwest Florida, SWFL. So I have probably over 50 business partners, and then have been doing the Notary Relations Director. So I have a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes as to what people are encountering. So we do ours. It's been almost every Thursday, but I do have some scheduling issues that are coming up. So unless I can find someone that is going to sub in, it's just kind of best practice to make sure to kind of follow our Facebook page. We'll do regular updates on what is going on and like the newest things that are going to be coming up. So obviously the primary thing that we do is the verification of identity. We want to make sure that this is not something that has fraud. So we are going to make sure to obviously make sure that that person is who they say they are. The importance of two-factor, we follow it, one, because the law tells us to as the platform, but then also to basically rise to the occasion for people that are committing fraud. So it's a little bit easier, I would argue, to do fraud as a traditional in-person. So I think that the conversations are shifting towards allowing or just kind of accepting remote online notarization as the norm rather than an exception. But that is kind of contingent on us as notaries and then us as the platform, basically everybody in every industry, to introduce this thinking and why it's a little bit more secure. Even though I love traditional and in-person notaries, I still love you guys. So anyway, we are going to go to the next part. So the way that it works is that there's always a two-part authentication. I use ChatGPT, so I know that those are misspelled over here, but I just like the visual. So you upload the ID. That is a non-starter. There's nothing else that you can do to get around that. If you are doing anything as far as the verification, the signer always has to upload their ID unless you wanted to skip authentication. And then we're just not really going to touch on that today. So, the different factors on why you would want to skip authentication, we're not going to talk about that. And then there's the secondary, which is the knowledge-based authentication questions or the biometrics face scan. So it depends on your state if you are able to do the biometric face scan. And if you're not sure, we have an article. It's called "What's the Buzz with Biometrics?" And you'll be able to find out within your state if you can do that or not. I really like it. I'm in Florida, so we are allowed to do that. I think it makes my life and the signer's life really, really easy, but we can get into that. That might be the topic for next Thursday or anything. So it basically is the upload the ID and then either the knowledge-based authentication or the biometric face scan. So that's the two-factor. Now, the first part is the ID verification. Obviously, they have to upload either their US-based ID. They check to make sure that it is not expired. It goes through a couple different security checks, and then it goes from there. So it's very, very important to obviously do this first step, and then we go on to the next step. So the second one is the knowledge-based authentication, also known as KBA. So if you hear someone talk about, I had trouble passing my KBA check, That's what they're talking about. It's a very common uh, uh, thing that people say within the RON industry. So with this, it's the same thing as if you were to go on to a DMV when it is asking you a series of questions. So, have you ever lived at this house? Have you ever been associated with this person? So, it gives you a series of different questions that you can ask. And within Blue Notary, you have a certain amount of time to be able to answer these questions. I believe that you have to you do. You have to answer a minimum amount of questions correctly within, I believe it's either 5 or 3 minutes. And it's timed. So I do know that signers get a little bit nervous, and if they're not good test takers, they can get a little bit nervous as far as this. But that is how they do the secondary authentication. So this is anyone can kind of make a ID, and then if it's very, very secure, very, very advanced, it might be able to pass the bank grade, the first part, the upload. But the understanding is that the knowledge base authentication, they're not going to know, you know, who were you associated with back 5 years ago or something like that. So that is another way to confirm identity. The secondary part, which is only available within certain states, is the biometrics. So that is basically where you would do the face scan. And then that is done in session. So you will see sometimes the client where they will get right in front, and then they turn their head from from left to right to be able to have that face scan. And then it goes through a series of checks and balances to make sure that that biometric face scan matches the ID. And then just kind of another series of factors that, makes it so that it's very, very secure. So the next part, you guys can see this, right? Oh, I think so. Okay. So I'm just gonna keep going. I think you guys can see it. Okay. And there's no one else. Okay, perfect. So they do the biometrics, and then the other very, very important part that you want to make sure to kind of hit home as far as when you are talking to these title companies, that this is a very, very secure way of doing the notarizations, is that you as the notary do the visual inspection of the ID. So after they pass all of their information, all of the bells and whistles are all set, you will see an image of the ID within the session. So what you are looking for is, do the names match the document? So if it's John R. Doe Jr., you want to make sure that on the documents itself, it's John R. Doe Jr. So if there's anything that is different, I would probably advise to reach out to the title company or the law firm just to let them know that, the names don't match the document, and that they're going to have to kind of get that figured out. Usually what has happened in the past when that has happened is that they have to redo the documents, because obviously we are basically saying that, yes, this person with this ID matches this document. So it's a little bit of a pain, but obviously we want to take our industry and our commission very seriously, and we do not want to get anything, get in trouble just in case, they were trying, not necessarily, but just in case they were trying to do something a little bit under the table. So the other thing is, does the picture ID match the person in the video? Obviously, you want to make sure that the image of the passport or the image of the ID, the person in front of you is the person that is on the ID. So you want to match all three of those things together. So then you want to kind of go over the other factor that would take away the potential of fraud, is that the entire session is audio and video recorded. Blue Notary stores that for us, so we don't have an extra charge for that. If you are the notary, you can go into your journal and then see the video recording after it has rendered. So sometimes if you are doing a notarization, it might take a little bit for it to render and be recorded, but then you have that. So you can upload that at will. and then just kind of have that as your records, or just keep it within Blue Notary under the journal, just in case there's any questions or anything like that. But it does lend itself for fraudsters to not want to be recorded while they are trying to impersonate someone else. So that would be a terrific deterrent for me if I was trying to do real estate fraud. I'm trying to represent myself that I am the home buyer. Obviously, if I was a criminal, I wouldn't want to be recorded doing that. One of the sessions that actually happened with me, now I don't know if this was fraud or not, but I had someone that would not come on screen. So he had his wife in a different area, and his wife was trying to explain to me all of these different reasons why he wasn't coming on screen, if I could just do it anyway. And I said, I'm going to have to wait until he is able to come on screen. That is one of the requirements within notarization, is I have to see the person, and they have to be the one that is signing these documents. He has to answer these series of questions. I can't get past it. So then in that case, I actually reached out to the title company, let them know what was happening, and we just pulled the whole entire thing. So that is something that you want to consider when you are talking to these title companies, that it is not some fly-by-night thing. Notarization is very, very detailed, very, very secured. And it's not something that is just, yes, you're in a Zoom and you're talking to someone else. There's a lot of checks and balances that the title companies, I do not think, kind of realize. And then that's the same with other business partners that are worried about fraud or security. So this is just kind of a way to explain to them the different ways that you can make sure that they are who they say they are. So that is it. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And then I'm going to find you guys again because I can't. Give me 1 second. Let me escape. Okay. So, do you guys have any questions for me as far as how to kind of explain it, or just honestly anything at all? You guys have to be shy? Okay, Elizabeth, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I actually have just started getting on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I've just finally started getting on and kind of going through everything on Blue Notary, and I've
Okay.
done a couple of the practice um,
Test with a
sessions
friend.
with like my husband, and
Mhm.
I'm driving him crazy, but so and he had to do I did it both ways with like the KBA and then with the biometrics just to see
Yes.
because I'm also in Florida, but I
Mhm.
wanted to see like what the difference was and what he sees from that perspective. Um so when you were talking about KBA, I have actually had to do that for something else.
Yeah.
And what happens if they don't pass? I mean, what do you do
Yeah.
then?
So if they don't pass twice, they have a 24-hour waiting period until they can come onto the platform and try it again. So
I see.
that is something that is kind of it can be a deterrent because it is hard for some people to pass. I'm not going to lie that sometimes, like, when I have done it where I do like tests with the friends or something like that, I'm like, I don't know the answer to this. And that can be especially true for people that have large footprints, like someone that moves around a lot, has moved, bought and sold a lot of cars, because it's anything that's tied to your social is where we pull from. So that is why it's a little bit harder if you are a foreign national and you don't have a huge footprint. It can be a little bit easier, harder to kind of pass. And then that is usually where I would introduce biometrics as far
I
as a
see.
solution, or to partner with a notary that does biometrics. But yes, KBA can be very, very tricky. Um, I'm not going to I mean, as long as it's available in your state and the title companies or whatever partner you're working with, I just usually do biometrics all the time,
Okay.
just because it's easier for pretty much all of the demographics to do a face scan rather than answer those series of questions.
That was going to be my next question. What do
Yeah,
you tend to lean towards?
I do
But that makes
biometrics.
sense.
I just make everybody do a face scan, because I want them to, be able to do it. And just as an aside, if there is someone that does not pass KBA and you don't necessarily know them, that doesn't mean that they're doing fraud. It could mean that they just don't have a good memory, or the answers or the questions were tricky. So I mean, don't jump to, oh my gosh, this person is doing fraud. It could just be, maybe an older gentleman that has no idea. So it's not just, oh my gosh, this person failed KBA twice. They have to wait 24 hours. They must be doing something shady. Now, again, you want to kind of use your own discretion. And then, honestly, I have a background in fraud detection. And then the best advice that I can give anyone is to basically trust your gut. That was the overlying um, message of pretty much all of my fraud training, is that you can kind of tell from how the signer is acting, and portraying themselves, just any of the general things, if they are doing fraud or not. And then it's totally within your wheelhouse to either take extra steps, let the contracting party know, or just maybe pull the plug on doing that notarization, letting them know that you're not going to be able to take care of them. So it's kind of at your discretion. You want to make sure that you are not going to land in hot water for doing that notarization. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
thank you so much.
yeah, of course. Did you guys have any other questions for me?
What I've done, this is Janice. I'm in Texas, so of course we have to do KVA.
Yeah.
And so what I've done, I started out on BlueNotary. They failed it. It was time sensitive, but I'm on another platform. So I jumped on
Mhm.
the other platform to get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's always another option, is, if they didn't pass on one part, you can always try and do a different solution as far as being able to get the job done. That is an option. Yeah. Yeah. But good suggestion and everything. So thanks. Did you guys have any other questions? Otherwise,
But I did like your other one. Like you said, it depends on the state. And I know,
yeah.
I believe this must have been a text. You know what? I probably could have done it or partnered with someone that could do biometrics, because I think the property was in the mother that was going to act as power of attorney for the two that were actually in Scotland, I think.
Hmm.
And but the property was in Kansas, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just needed to do their power of attorneys. And like you said, so wherever the property is located, if you're doing real estate transaction, this was a real estate transaction related
Hmm.
document. And
Hmm.
so yeah, biometric would have been an option. And I didn't even think about it. Yeah, to partner with someone.
Yeah. I mean, it is nice, and I do partner with a couple other notaries that don't have that option available. But if you ever wanted to chime in for the group or anything, there are a good amount. Like, I think it's, and you'd have to look up for what's the buzz with biometrics to see the exact. I just know Florida because that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But it would always be a good idea to collaborate just until you guys are allowed to do biometrics too, which
I don't know if
hopefully.
Texas is even moving in that direction, but
I
yeah.
know, I
And
know.
yeah, since for the expedited, so the apostille stuff, I have hired Florida
Yeah,
notaries, yeah, to do
yeah,
transactions for me. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I feel kind of bad, but we kind of get the good end of that deal. Oh, and Virginia, I know, Florida. There's others. I just can't
Yeah, I
think.
have to look at the list.
Yeah, I have to
I
look
try
at
to
the
build
list
the
too.
list so that you can just kind of just quickly look at it and say, oh, okay, I can go here. But yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then yes, whenever you're Elizabeth.
Oh, I was about to say Oklahoma, but what I was looking for is whether or not the Secretary of State will accept remotely notarized documents.
Oh yeah,
So
there's
that's
always that
the
factor too.
yeah, just
I
yeah,
know. I
yeah,
know. And I always try and like not argue, but like let them know about the reciprocity. But yes, if like a certain county or a certain area won't take Ron, there's not really much we can do,
right.
rather than educate and then hopefully wait for them to kind of get on board. But yes, Elizabeth, you had another question?
My other question was, you guys were just talking about partnering with someone. So what does that exactly mean? Like partnering with someone else,
Yeah.
like giving them the signing or?
So it's up to you. But I have people that I pass work back and forth with.
Mhm.
Or you can do it where, since you're doing the marketing, you're the one that's getting the client, you would get the bulk of the cut. It would kind of have to be a conversation with whatever notary that you want to partner with. So,
I see.
I did do a webinar that's called Vetting Notary Partners of like the different types of things that you want to look into before you kind of decide to partner with another notary, because there can be some tricky conversations that come up, if you give them that client and then, that's their point of contact, but you did all the work, you don't want them to necessarily take that client.
Right.
So it is a conversation that you're going to have to kind of talk about and think about, because, you did all that hard work. If it's something that's going to be beneficial to both of you, like, giving work back and forth, or take a cut of it and just kind of go from there. That's always a conversation to kind of vet out. But you want to make sure that when you are, like, I would start having those conversations now with the notaries that you want to work with. So that way it's
In
not.
your database, so to speak. And yeah,
Yeah,
and if you can put
exactly.
in that link again in the notes for this meeting for how you vet your notaries that you swap
That
with.
is a good idea. Let me find it. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, because I've had it where it's like emergency, and I just need to find someone right away, and then that's not usually ideal. I usually would like to have a little bit more time to talk to the notary and just kind of make sure that they are familiar with the documents. Partners, YouTube. Um, yeah, so that way they're familiar with the documents and everything. So that way, when you send over that work, you're kind of you're being represented by them, so, or they're representing you rather. Sorry.
Yes.
Trying to multitask a little bit. Okay, so there is the link to the vetting notary partners, and that was a webinar from I think 2 times away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
But did you guys have any other questions or anything that you wanted to talk about? I think we have about a little bit longer, but go ahead.
One webinar that I watched that you did, there was a link where you could pre-tag your documents and save it in that folder. That folder is now gone. There was, should I say, there was a link where you could save the document. So, like, if you had to restart, you wouldn't have to tag it all over again.
Are you talking about templates?
Yes, templates.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's within the dashboard over on the left-hand side. It's just a little bit farther down.
I was
So,
recently looking at it for one that I had scheduled, but I didn't
yeah.
see it. I didn't see
Oh,
templates. Yeah, I
oh,
think it went
okay.
away.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we did an update, so you might have to re-upload your templates just in case. I don't really like if that's what you're talking about. Like if you
Well, the
had.
link wasn't available. That's what I meant. The link to actually save, save the document into the template folder and pre-tag it so that it's, if you have to start over, you just upload it
Yeah.
again.
Have
So
you
I didn't
gone
see
on
that.
it recently?
I had, was it earlier this week? I think I had, ooh, it was So I don't know. My days all running together.
That's
So
okay.
I
Mine
had,
too.
yeah,
So yeah, if you can go on the dashboard
it's been less than a week though.
okay, if you go on the dashboard and look over to the left-hand side and you still don't see the template, if you could reach out to our help desk over on the
Okay.
bottom right-hand side, and then
Hmm.
they can get you sorted and kind of see the tech on the back end and
Okay.
see why that's not happening. Because you should be able to have access to the templates, and then just do as many templates as you would like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have a question about the templates as well.
yeah,
I just didn't know if we could ask other questions
you
other
can.
than what
Yeah.
we were talking about. So like I said, I just started playing around with everything, I really want to get familiar with Blue Notary
Hmm.
altogether, but I added some templates. Now, there were some templates that it looks like they were pre-added.
Yeah.
So, but if I add templates, is that adding it to everyone else? Like they can
Uh-uh.
see all the templates? Oh, okay.
Nope. Those
So
are
then
just yours.
okay, so then I have a second question. So
Yeah.
it says pre-tag fields,
Hmm.
like, but if I go into it and I click that button, is that like if I want to pre-tag for, sorry, I can't hear with my headphones.
That's okay.
Um, but if I click on that and I put it in there and I save it, is that for like if I'm doing a signing right now, or can you pre-tag it for like next week
You
or
so
for
in the
any signing?
Yeah, so in the templates, that will like if you pre-tag it in the templates, that's going to be there until you go back into the templates and change it. So if you wanted to do anything as far as within the template to make it long term, like let's say you make a template and then a week from now you want to send it out, you would just add it in the invitation for the session under pre-tagged templates. So, but if
Okay.
you were to send it out as an invitation, so like let's say you do a template of a parental consent, you make an invitation to John Doe, and then you send it out to John Doe, it's only going to have the tags as what you did when you first started it. So if you go back into the templates after you've sent out the invite, it's not going to register. Like that thing that you sent is what you sent. So then if you wanted to make any changes to that invitation, you'd have to go into pre-tag. Does that make
I
sense?
see.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you
Okay.
can ask any questions you want. Um,
Awesome.
and then there was something else that I was going to say as far as pre-tagging.
Because what I ended up doing for mine, because I wanted to schedule it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, so what is, oh God, I guess my guy was in Spain. I'm trying to think what day did we do it. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, I did schedule it and I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to pre-tag it, but I
Mm-hmm.
just, what should I say, and have it in the template so that if we did have a disconnection and had to start over, I can just upload it again. I should say
Yeah.
in the drop down list, I can just add it to the signing
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of how I use it. That was just really more or less for Elizabeth, but yeah. And so if you had anything to add to it, yeah.
Yeah, so if that does happen, and so for whatever reason there's not an issue with the document itself, you can just exit out and reschedule that session. So it does not expire. Like let's say you have it for today at 12 o'clock, and for whatever reason you couldn't do it. I would just reschedule it for the next session, so that way you save all of that information that you've already done. So I've had it where, you have to redo the entire thing and send it out again. But that is a way around it. And especially if you got like not the ID, the email address wrong,
Hmm.
you can always terminate it and send it again. Or um, I'm not going to touch on the sensitive information side of like getting the information, for the email wrong. But you can always add the correct email, and then you'd have to reach out to the help desk to kind of get that figured out. So if you do the wrong email address, fix it, and then talk to the email chat. Yeah.
And I think I sent something to Ty on that, or we were
Mhm.
kind of communicating back and forth. I had a scenario where the company that was ordering the appointment, in fact, the people that were in Scotland, I believe, or
Yeah.
Ireland. They were actually in Ireland.
Mhm.
They gave me her work address, email
Yeah.
address, and said
Oh,
I needed to switch it to her
firewall.
personal address. Yes. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, but anyway, we ended up getting that one done. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
was trying to remember if that was the one that they end up failing the KBA,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, so that's how we did that. And then plus, there was a typo in her name. Also, I just wanted to be
Yeah.
able to change that without having to go and recreate everything. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And then within Blue Notary, if it's like just a page, you can always go in and then change, not the page, but like you can take out that page and then put in whatever they supplied for you.
hmm
Um, and then just kind of go from there. But the other thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, and I probably should make a separate informational about this, is that if you are sending information or sending invitations to people's business emails, sometimes there's firewalls that they cannot get through.
mm
So just kind of keep that in mind, especially for law firms. I don't really know. I mean, they're law firms, so they're super. They have to be secure anyway. But I've run into a couple different instances where it will not go through the email address to these law firm people. So, you know, if it's a paralegal that needs to be on there as a witness, or if it's a paralegal that, or a lawyer that needs to be on as a signer, for whatever reason, sometimes the firewall catches my emails. Um, and then just does not like it. So my workaround is I send it to, well, I check with them, but then I send it to a personal email address and then they just kind of have to deal with it that way because I can't, you know, it's the firewall. So unless they want to talk to their back office IT, that's just kind of what they have to do.
the
So
other part that
just
I'm
need to know.
curious about though is the whitelist. Did have you talked to them about maybe adding you to their whitelist so that it would get through the firewall?
I mean, it's such a case by case with like little law firms that I haven't really delved into. Like, I don't think that it, like for me, I don't think it would be the worth the conversation unless it was something that I was doing all the time with a specific law firm and I didn't have a workaround. But that is a good idea. Like if you work with a major company and you
Yeah,
know you
I
need that.
think it's a good thing to add to your list for the intro. You know, with them letting them know how to log, you know, when they log in early doing the KB, so they know how to
Mhm.
walk through it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's good because we kind of that's not something that's going to be top of mind when you get a call to do an appointment. So if
No,
it's on
no.
that list,
Like,
that would be good.
yeah, it would be like, do you have a firewall? Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing is that I like the thing that cut down the most on my time for the notarizations is prepping the clients. So I probably should do a different webinar about that, but prepping the clients as far as like adding in the signer walkthrough, both the KBA. Well, I just do biometrics because I just make them do biometrics, but the KBA and the biometrics, and then we have a step-by-step walkthrough. So that way, in case people don't want to watch the whole entire video, they can just kind of scroll down and see, and then a little bit of an explanation of like what they would need. So if you, well, it wouldn't be super helpful because I post a lot, but I posted it in the group of like exactly what I say.
And I
Um,
did. I copied that list
oh, okay, good.
and I
Yeah,
sent out a whole list of things just based even before I found your list, but based on what they would actually need. But
yeah,
I did add those links in there because I thought they were very informational. I even put at the bottom, you know, because I found two. One is
yeah,
4 minutes, one is 6 minutes. So you choose. And
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, but if you guys don't have any other questions, I think I'm gonna leave it. Is there anything else that I can help you guys with, or any burning questions before we go? Okay. Well, thank you guys very much
Thank you.
for spending this time with me. I appreciate it. Also, if you, oh, I forgot, we have a course that is a software course that basically has a breakdown of how to use our software. So, like how to set up Test with a Friend, how to set up the different types of uh, things that we have within the program. Obviously, I would recommend doing Test with a Friends, but to be able to do this kind of on your own and learn from how to do specific things within the platform, that was that's super helpful. So we do have a course. We have a couple different courses on like how to do this type of stuff and more. So feel free to check that out. But it's just under Blue Notary and then courses. That's the free one. We have a learning library that has like a series of different types of documentation, and then kind of how to fill those out. And that those are all dynamic courses. So as I get to them, I will fill out more stuff. It's just be a little bit patient with me for those. You know, I'm doing it as I can, and then as the editors can get to it. So yeah, but yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and step off of this. I have some more appointments that I have to take care of, but I appreciate your time. So.
Okay. And it is recorded, correct?
It is recording, yeah. So I'll be able to, yeah, as long as my tech issues are not carrying over. You know, it's just technology is technology.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it
Dig
should be.
around. I don't know if you emailed the link or not, but I had to dig around. I looked at my email, didn't see it, and yeah, so I had to.
Yeah,
That's one
yeah.
of the reasons why I was late. So yeah.
No, that's it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
but yeah, as long as everything works out, this is being recorded, and then hopefully later today after it renders, I'll be able to upload it. So
perfect.
yeah. Okay. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.